Here is part 1 explained in approximately 1,000 words. Fast-paced, simple, English, emotional, and fully YouTube safe. Part 1, full explanation around 1,000 words. Clean and safe Alina Carter never expected anything special from that night. It was just another cold evening in early autumn, the kind where the wind felt sharp and the air smelled like rain. She wrapped her coat tighter around her shoulders as she walked toward Lakeside Cafe, a small place hidden between tall buildings and quiet streets. The windows glowed with warm yellow lights. And for a moment, she wondered if stepping inside would feel like entering another world. She hoped so. She needed it. 2 weeks earlier, her long-term relationship had ended. Not with shouting, not with drama, but with quiet words that cut deeper than anger ever could. Her boyfriend of 3 years told her he didn't feel the same anymore. Alina had tried to stay strong, but every night since then felt heavy. The loneliness didn't shout. It whispered. And whispers were sometimes worse. She pushed open the cafe door and stepped inside. The warmth hit her first, then the soft sound of quiet conversations. The smell of fresh coffee and slow music playing from a speaker somewhere behind the counter. It was peaceful, but her heart still felt tired, like it had forgotten how to rest. When Alina looked around the room, she noticed 3 men who stood out without trying. One sat by the window. He was calm, quiet, and his presence felt steady. He had soft brown hair, warm eyes, and a gentle expression. His name, she would soon learn, was Mark. He looked like someone who understood silence, someone who didn't rush through life. When their eyes met by accident, he offered a simple smile. Not playful, just kind. Alina didn't know why, but it made something inside her soften. A few tables away sat Daniel, the opposite of quiet. He was laughing with the barista, making jokes, telling stories, filling the room with lightness. His voice had confidence, but not arrogance. He seemed like the type of person who believed life should be lived loudly, but kindly. People were drawn to him, and Alina wondered what it would feel like to have that kind of brightness. Near the small stage at the back of the cafe was Leo, the third man she noticed. He wasn't talking to anyone. He sat with a guitar leaning against his leg, adjusting the strings with slow patience. His focus was deep, almost dreamy, like music was the only language he trusted. Alina could only see part of his face, but even from a distance, he seemed thoughtful. Quietly emotional. Alina didn't come to meet people. She came to hide. But fate often works in quiet ways, and that night, fate was paying attention. She ordered her coffee and moved toward an empty table. But before she could sit, the cafe owner stepped toward her with an apologetic smile. "I'm so sorry," she said. "We're short on seating tonight. Would you mind joining a table for a while? We're trying to rearrange." Alina looked around. Every table was full except one, the one where Mark, Daniel, and Leo sat together. 3 strangers. 3 men she had never seen before. She hesitated. She wasn't in the mood for conversation, and she wasn't ready to pretend she was happy. But she also didn't want to stand alone in the middle of the cafe holding a steaming cup of coffee while the world kept moving around her. So she nodded. The owner led her to the table. All 3 men looked up when she arrived. Daniel moved his drink to make space. Mark slid an empty chair out for her. And Leo simply nodded politely before returning to his guitar. Alina whispered a soft thank you and sat down, unsure where to place her eyes. The room suddenly felt brighter and heavier at the same time. She wasn't used to attention not anymore. For weeks, she had been invisible inside her own sadness. Mark spoke first, his voice gentle. "Cold night." Alina nodded. "Yes, it's been a long week." Her answer was short, but Mark seemed to understand that she didn't want to explain more. He didn't ask. He didn't push. That alone made the air easier to breathe. Daniel jumped in next, smiling like he carried sunshine on his shoulders. "Well, you picked the right cafe. Warmest place in town. And best coffee. Except the music, that depends on him." He pointed at Leo. Leo didn't look up. But a small smile formed on his face. Alina found herself smiling too, just a little. She didn't want to, but it happened anyway. It was the first smile she had felt in days. The cafe owner walked toward the stage and whispered to another employee. The speaker music stopped. Something was wrong. The owner turned to the room, embarrassed. Our performer tonight canceled last minute. We're trying to figure out something else. Lena had no idea what that meant for her. But suddenly Daniel raised his hand and said loudly, "Don't worry, we've got music." He pointed at Leo again. Leo sighed, but not angrily. More like someone used to being volunteered. He lifted his guitar onto his lap and tested a few strings. The sound was soft, but beautiful. The room quieted. Even people at other tables leaned in to listen. Alina didn't look at anyone else. She watched Leo play. She watched his hands move gently, confidently. The music wasn't loud, but it felt like it filled every part of her. For the first time in weeks, her thoughts weren't heavy. They were still, like the world stopped moving long enough to let her breathe. Mark leaned closer, not invading her space, speaking softly so she could hear. "Music helps," he said, "especially when life feels heavy." Lena didn't know why, but she believed him. Daniel ordered everyone at the table hot chocolate to celebrate surviving another week. As he put it, he talked about funny things he had seen that day. He made jokes about himself. He told stories that had nothing to do with heartbreak. And that alone felt healing. Alina didn't realize how long she had been silent. She didn't need to talk. Just listening felt like a break from the loud sadness inside her heart. That was when the lights flickered. The cafe went dark for a second, then returned. A strong wind shook the windows, and everyone looked up. Seconds later, the power went out completely. No lights, no humming machines. Only candle flames on a few tables and Leo's quiet guitar. People murmured, wondering if they should leave. The owner tried to calm them. The wind outside howled again. Daniel stood up quickly. "Nobody leaves," he joked. "This is just a dramatic moment in the movie of our lives." People laughed. The tension faded. Mark helped the owner light more candles. Leo continued playing, the sound now softer but somehow stronger in the quiet room. Alina sat still, watching the flame dance on the table, feeling something warm and strange in her chest. She had come here to be alone. She had expected silence, but instead she found 3 strangers who made the darkness feel safe, not scary, and without knowing why. She felt the beginning of something, not love, not romance. Just a moment where life stopped hurting so much. Alina didn't think this night mattered, but it would, because nights like this change people quietly, and this one was only just beginning. Clean, safe, emotional, simple English. Mature but no explicit content, fits YouTube monetization policies if you'd like. I can also explain part 2 in 1,000 words the same way. Would you like me to continue? Here is part 2, explained in approximately 1,000 words. Fast-paced, emotional, clean, and YouTube safe. Part 2, full explanation around 1,000 words. Clean and safe, the power stayed out. But no one rushed to leave. The cafe felt strangely peaceful, glowing with candlelight and soft music. Leo continued playing his guitar, and the notes echoed gently through the quiet room. Most people returned to their seats, choosing to enjoy the moment instead of complaining. In the dim light, faces looked softer, shadows danced on the walls, and the storm outside sounded less frightening. Alina sat at the table with the 3 men, still unsure how she had ended up there, but no longer wishing she was somewhere else. She held her warm cup between her hands and listened to Leo's music. Every note felt like it carried emotion, sadness, calm, hope, all at once. She didn't know this man, but somehow his music understood her. When the song ended, the room clapped softly. Leo nodded shyly, as if he wasn't used to attention. Alina looked at him, almost surprised by how deeply the music affected her. Daniel leaned back in his chair, proud, as if he had trained Leo himself. "See?" he said. "Best emergency musician in the city." Lena laughed quietly, and that small sound felt like a victory inside her chest. Mark turned toward her. His voice was gentle, steady, the kind of voice that made people feel safe. "You look lighter than when you came in," he said. Alina almost argued, but she realized he was right. Something in her chest wasn't as heavy anymore. She wasn't healed, but she wasn't drowning. She surprised herself when the words slipped out. "I've had a rough few weeks." She didn't plan to share anything, but the candlelight and kindness in their faces made it easier to speak. Daniel softened his tone, losing some of his playful energy. "Someone hurt you?" He asked, not like a bold question, but like someone who actually cared. Alina nodded. "A breakup. It ended quietly, but quietly can hurt too." The men listened. They didn't interrupt. They didn't ask for details. They didn't try to fix her. Sometimes the most comforting thing in the world was someone simply hearing you. Mark leaned forward slightly. Sometimes the quiet endings are the hardest. No shouting, no final reason, just gone. He spoke like someone who understood that kind of pain. Alina could tell his empathy was real. Daniel, who usually filled every silence, didn't speak for a moment. Then he said, "I went through something like that last year. I thought it'd be fine. I wasn't." He smiled sadly. "But nights like this help. Not because something big happens, but because you remember the world can still be kind." Leo finally looked up. "Music helps too," he whispered. Alina nodded slowly. "It does." The cafe owner brought more candles and extra blankets for anyone feeling cold. People at nearby tables chatted softly, sharing stories and jokes. What started as a normal night had turned into something unusual, a room full of strangers bonding in the dark. Daniel, of course, kept the energy alive. He told a funny story about spilling hot coffee on himself earlier that week. He described running down the street, waving his burned hand and yelling, making everyone at the table laugh. Even Leo smiled, though he tried to hide it. Alina realized laughter felt strange after so many sad days. But it also felt good. Healing, even. Mark asked her about her life, not about her breakup, but about her. What she loved. What she hoped for. Alina talked a little. She told them about her job, her love for painting, her dream of traveling but never having the courage. Mark listened like every word mattered. Daniel reacted big, saying she should travel the world and paint every mountain and every sunset. Leo didn't say much, but every time she looked at him, he gave a small nod, like he agreed with her more than she realized. For the first time in weeks, Alina felt Sanote, as someone broken, but as someone human. Someone worth knowing. The storm outside continued. Lightning flashing through the windows, thunder shaking the glass. But inside the cafe was warm, filled with candlelight and gentle voices. The darkness didn't feel like a problem anymore. It felt like part of the moment. At one point, Daniel stood up and announced, "Okay, we can't sit in silence forever. Story time? Everyone tells something interesting about their life." He pointed at Mark first. Mark sighed, pretending to be annoyed, but he played along. He told a story about getting lost during a camping trip in the mountains. He described how he walked for hours before finding his way back. Daniel turned the story into a dramatic adventure, claiming Mark survived a terrifying bear when it was only a raccoon. Everyone laughed. Then it was Daniel's turn. He spoke about his first job, where he accidentally broke a glass door on his first day and somehow got promoted a month later. His story was full of humor, exaggerated reactions, and funny voices. Even people at other tables listened and laughed. When it was Leo's turn, he didn't talk much. He simply said he played music because it was the only thing that ever felt right. He didn't dream of fame or crowds. "I just want to make people feel something good," he said. And that short sentence made Alina appreciate him even more. When it was Elena's turn, they didn't rush her. She took a breath, thinking she had nothing interesting to say. But then she talked about her painting, how she got lost in colors, how she could spend hours working on small details, how it made the world quiet. Her voice was soft, but all three men listened carefully. When she finished, Daniel clapped like she had given the greatest speech in history. Mark told her she should never hide her passion. Leo said softly, "Pain brings deeper colors." That sentence stayed in Elena's mind. The hours passed faster than she realized. The candles burned lower. The storm slowly softened. The room felt safe, warm, gentle. She had come here wanting silence, and somehow silence found But in a different way. It was not the silence of loneliness. It was the silence of comfort. Then the lights flickered. The power returned for a few seconds before going dark again. People groaned. But instead of frustration, there was laughter. No one seemed in a hurry to leave anymore at one point. Alina looked around and realized something important. She wasn't thinking about her ex. She wasn't thinking about what she lost. She was thinking about the present, these strangers. This music, this unexpected night. Her heart still ached. But the ache was quieter as midnight grew closer. The cafe owner walked around, apologizing again for the blackout. Most people didn't mind. Some even hoped the lights wouldn't come back yet. Near the end of the night, Leo played one more song slow, beautiful, full of feeling. The room went silent. Even the storm outside paused, like the world was listening. Alina closed her eyes and let the music hold her. When the song ended, everyone clapped again. But for Alina, something deeper happened. She felt a shift inside, small but real. She wasn't healed, but she wasn't hopeless. She didn't expect that 3 strangers could make her feel strong again. She didn't expect that a broken night could turn into a soft memory. She didn't expect laughter, comfort, or warmth. But all of it had found her as the candles dimmed. A quiet thought settled in her heart. Maybe life still had surprises left. Maybe this night was one of them, and part 3 was just waiting to begin. Clean, emotional, romantic, no explicit content. Suitable for YouTube monetization, fast pace. Simple language. Would you like part 3 explained in the same 1,000-word format? Here is part 3 explained in approximately 1,000 words. Fast-paced, emotional, clean, and fully YouTube safe. Part 3, full explanation around 1,000 words. Clean and safe midnight slowly arrived, but no one moved toward the door. The storm outside continued, but softer now, like the sky was tired. The cafe was filled with warm candlelight and people who were no longer strangers. The lights stayed off and everyone accepted it. Sometimes darkness brings people together in a way daylight never does. Alina sat with Mark, Daniel, and Leo, feeling calmer than she had in weeks. She didn't know how 3 strangers had changed her night, but they had. She felt lighter, like her heart had room to breathe again. When Leo finished his final song, the room stayed quiet for a moment. Not because people had nothing to say, but because they didn't want to break the peaceful feeling. Then gentle applause filled the cafe. Leo looked down, embarrassed, but Alina saw a small smile on his face. Music was his language, and everyone understood it tonight. Mark leaned closer to Alina. "You seem different from when you walked in," he said. His voice was soft, like he didn't want to disturb the moment. Alina didn't argue. She felt different. She didn't look at the floor anymore. She didn't hide behind her sadness. Something inside her had shifted. Daniel placed both hands on the table dramatically. "Everyone, we have survived a blackout, the worst hot chocolate spill of my life, and at least 4 sad songs. We should celebrate." He ordered another round of drinks, even though the machines were barely working. The cafe owner laughed and did her best. People from other tables joined in conversations. It felt like one big room of friends instead of strangers. Someone started telling jokes. Another couple shared stories about how they first met. The darkness had turned the cafe into a world of its own, small but full of warmth. Alina watched it all quietly. She realized she hadn't thought about her ex in hours. Her heart still hurt, but the pain no longer controlled her. It was just a part of her, not all of her. After a while, Mark spoke again. He didn't ask about her relationship. He asked about her future, what she wanted, where she hoped to go, what she dreamed of. No one had asked her those things in a long time. Alina felt surprised by her own voice as she answered. She wanted to paint more. She wanted to travel not far, just somewhere new. She wanted to feel alive again instead of waiting for life to pass. Daniel listened carefully, for once not joking. "You should do all of that," he said. Don't let someone who left keep you from starting again. His words were simple but real. Leo reached into his pocket and pulled out a small folded piece of paper. He handed it to Elena without saying a word. She opened it slowly. It was a handwritten note with just 4 words. You are allowed to start again. Elena felt her chest tighten, not from sadness, but from something hopeful. She looked at Leo and he finally met her eyes. There was no flirtation, no pressure, just honesty. He understood how it felt to begin again after breaking. Thunder rolled again, but softer this time. The storm was almost over. The cafe owner came by and whispered that the power might not return until morning. Some people decided to leave, but most stayed a little longer, enjoying the unusual night. It didn't feel like a blackout anymore. It felt like a memory forming right in front of them. Mark stood and gathered a few blankets the owner offered. He draped one around Elena's shoulders. She didn't push it away. It felt comforting. It's like someone finally cared how she felt. Daniel talked about his plans for the weekend, inviting everyone to a street fair downtown. He wasn't just filling silence, he was offering connection. He wanted people to continue the night beyond the cafe. Elena realized that he wasn't loud because he wanted attention. He was loud because he wanted people to feel less alone. Leo, quiet as always, tuned his guitar again. Even without power, he kept playing soft music in the background. The strings whispered more than spoke. As time passed, some customers finally stood and said goodnight. The room slowly cleared, leaving only a handful of people. The storm outside faded into a gentle wind. Candles burned low but still alive. Elena finally stood to leave. She didn't want the night to end, but she knew it was time. She wrapped the blanket tighter and looked at the 3 men who had changed her night without even trying. "Thank you," she said simply. "I didn't know I needed tonight." Mark smiled. "Sometimes the best nights are the ones we don't plan." Daniel raised his hand. "Before you go, promise something." Elena raised an eyebrow. "What?" "Promise you won't disappear. People meet for a reason, and it would be a waste if tonight was only one night." Leo didn't speak, but he nodded in quiet agreement. Elena hesitated. She didn't know if she was ready for new friendships or new anything, but she also didn't want to go back to loneliness. "Maybe you'll see me again," she said softly. Daniel grinned. "We'd better—" Mark stepped forward gently. "Take care of yourself. And don't forget what you said about traveling and painting. Life doesn't end because someone else walked away." His words filled the space between them, warm and steady. Before leaving, Leo handed her one more tiny folded paper. Elena didn't open it yet. She slipped it into her pocket, she walked to the door, pushed it open, and stepped outside. The night was cool, but calmer than before. The rain had stopped. The wind was gentle. The streets shimmered with reflections from streetlights bouncing off wet pavement. For a moment, she stood there, breathing in the fresh air. She felt different, still healing, still hurting, but no longer lost. The cafe behind her glowed softly in the dark, like a small lighthouse for tired souls, as she walked home. She opened the second note Leo had given her. It said, "You don't have to be strong every day. Just enough to keep moving." Elena smiled, tears forming, but not from sadness. She wiped them away and kept walking. That night didn't give her a new love story. It didn't magically fix her heart. It didn't erase her past. But it gave her something far more real, a reminder that life still held kindness, that strangers could care, that broken hearts can still feel warmth. That hope returns in small moments. When she finally reached her apartment, she placed the notes on her bedside table. She looked at them one more time, letting their message sit inside her. She was allowed to start again. She didn't have to be strong every day. And maybe, just maybe, tomorrow would hurt a little less. It was not a dramatic ending. No dramatic confessions. No fairy tale magic, just one beautiful night with 3 unexpected people who helped her breathe again. And years later, whenever she remembered that night, she would smile and say, "These 3 men turned my night into an amazing story to share." Clean, emotional, mature, romantic tone. No explicit content, safe for YouTube monetization. Simple English, fast pace, original writing if you'd like. I can now provide 5 YouTube titles. Description plus SEO keywords, thumbnail text, episode intro narration for video. Would you like that?